Every day, whether we realize or not, we make choices as consumers. What to buy, what to skip, what feels worth it, what doesn't. Hey, it's MD Dilwar Jahan, SCS major from Shahjalal University of Science and Technology. Today, I want to take you on a journey through something that drives market, shapes and trends, and even influences cultures, the consumer behavior. This isn't just about marketing or advertising. It's about psychology, data, culture, and decision making. If you have wondered why we buy what we buy, or business seem to know exactly what we want, this video is for you. Without any further ado, let's dive into the video. Consumers' behavior begins with the fundamental question: why do people buy what they buy? The answer lies in the powerful economic concept called utility. Utility simply means the satisfaction or the benefit a person gets from consuming a product or service. Every time we choose between products, like deciding between an apple or a pear, we are making a decision to maximize our utility. If Mr. X prefers apples, it means that the utility he gains from an apple is greater than from a pear. In essence, utility guides choice and choice reflects preference. Okay, let's begin by breaking down the utility into two types: cardinal utility and ordinal utility. Cardinal utility assumes we can measure satisfaction in absolute numbers. For example, you might say eating a burger gives me 10 utils, while eating a pizza gives 20. According to this, you like pizza twice as much as a burgers, right? However, real life is not so mathematical. That's where the ordinal utility comes in. It only requires you to rank your preferences. You may say you prefer pizza over burgers, but you don't need to quantify exactly how much more you like it. Modern economics leans more on ordinal utility because preferences are subjective and hard to measure precisely. So, what's the real difference between them? Cardinal utility tries to assign actual numerical values to satisfaction, treating utility as a scorecard. It's useful in theoretical models but often impractical in real life situations. Ordinal utility, on the other hand, only requires a ranking of preferences, which aligns better with how humans actually make choices. It captures the order of preference without needing exact figures. Think of it as a difference between saying I like A more than B versus I like A 3.7 times more than B. It sounds funny, right? Okay. In practice, ordinal utility is considered more realistic because it matches the way people make everyday decisions based on the preference, not precise calculations. Okay, now let's talk about total utility and marginal utility. Total utility is the total amount of satisfaction we get from consuming a certain quantity of good, whereas the marginal utility, on the other hand, is the additional satisfaction you gain from consuming one more unit of that good. Imagine you are eating slice of pizzas. Fresh slice, you may find it super delicious and your satisfaction will be extremely high, right? What about the second slice? You may find it's still good and Your satisfaction should be slightly lesser than the first bite you have taken, right? Okay. Now let's talk about the third slice. You are getting full now, right? What about the fourth slice? You be like, brother, what's that, brother? Right? You may regret it, right? In the fourth place. Okay. So what we are seeing that if you are consuming every single units of goods, your utility level in every single step is decreasing. That's that is called the marginal utility. So that decreasing satisfaction from each additional slice in the essence of marginal utility. Here's another example. Suppose drinking a glass of water after a long walk gives you 10 utils. The second glass might give you 6, the third glass might give you 2, and the fourth glass might even make you feel uncomfortable, right? Uncomfortable, right? The extra utility from each unit falls. That's the core idea behind marginal utility. Now let us talk about the relationship between total utility and marginal utility. This relationship is simple yet insightful. As long as mu is positive, tu increases. When mu hits 0, then tu at its maximum position. And when mu becomes negative, then tu actually falls. What you can see in the graph. This tells us why we stop consuming after a point. There is no gain, and sometimes there's even a cost to more consumption. Let's say TU reaches 65 after 6 units, and MU is 0 at that point. Consuming the 7th unit bring the MU to negative territory, say -3, and TU drops to 62. That drop signals overconsumption, and it helps business and consumers alike understand optimal limits. This leads us to one of the core principles in consumer theory, the law of diminishing marginal utility. It states that a person consumes more units of a good, the additional utility from each extra unit decreases. That's why the first spoonful of ice cream feels heavenly, but by the 10th, you are done, right? It explains how consumers allocate their budgets and why they diversify their choices instead of spending all their money on one item. In the real world, the principle is visible everywhere, from how people consume snacks to how they binge watch shows. Initial experiences are delightful, but the thrills wears off as we repeat them. It's a natural and predictable pattern that underpins how we behave as consumers. Let's take a step further. We have talked about how people get satisfaction from goods, but what if they have limited income and multiple options? How they have decide what combination of goods give them the maximum utility? This is where the concept of consumer's equilibrium comes in. It's the point where the consumer achieves the highest satisfaction possible within their budget. Think of it like balancing a scale. On one side, you have preferences, what you want, and on the other side, you have your constraints, what you can afford. The consumer's job is to find a sweet spot where they are happiest without overspending. Then let us talk about the indifference curve and budget lines. An indifference curve represents different combination of two goods that give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. If you are equally happy with two apples and three bananas, or one apple or four bananas, those combination lies on the same curve. Budget line. A budget line, meanwhile, shows what combination of goods a consumer can afford given their income and their prices of the goods. It's the economic boundary of choice. Where those two intersect, where an indifference curve just touches the budget line, is where the consumer reaches the equilibrium. That's the optimal mix of goods they can afford and enjoy the most. At the point of equilibrium, the marginal rate of substitution (MRS) comes into play. MRS tells us how much of one good a consumer is willing to give up to gain an additional unit of another without changing their overall satisfaction. If the MRS between apples and bananas is 2, the consumer is willing to trade 2 bananas for 1 apple. At equilibrium, this rate equals the ratio of prices between two goods. In simple terms, the value in your mind matches the value in the market. That's balance. Graphically, the consumer's equilibrium is found at the point where the indifference curve is tangent to the budget line. This represents the highest level of satisfaction reachable within their budget. Mathematically, the condition is written as MUX upon PX equals to MUY upon PY, where the MU is the marginal utility and P is the price. This means the utility per taka spent on a good X equals the utility per taka spent on good Y. If the equality holds true, the consumer cannot increase total satisfaction by rearranging their spending. They are at equilibrium, spending smart, enjoying the most. Let's now explore how consumer behavior changes with income. Imagine your income increases, but the price of a good stays the same. Do your preference stay the same too? Most likely no. That shifts how your consumption adjusts to changes in income is captured by the income consumption curve or ICC curve. It's not International Cricket Council, it's income consumption curve. Mind it. The ICC shows how a consumer's optimal choice of good evolves as their income changes. Keeping prices constant, we can plot different equilibrium points for different levels of income. Connecting these points gives us the IC. Let's say you start with a low income. You might spend primarily on necessities, basic food, essential clothing. As your income increases, you can afford better quality and greater variety, maybe switching to instant noodles to fresh meals, or from simple t-shirt from branded wares. Each point on ICC represents a new consumer equilibrium, where a higher budget allows for more satisfaction. If both goods are normal goods, you will demand more of both as income increases, and the ICC will slope upward. However, if one good is inferior, something you consume less of as your income rises, the curve bends, showing the decrease in demand for the good. For example, bus rides might decrease as you start using the cabs. Angel curve. To further analyze this shift, we use the Angel curve, named after the German statistician Ernest Angel. This curve plots income on the x-axis and quantity demanded on the y-axis. It provides a visual answer to the question: as people earn more, how much more or less of a good do they consume? For normal goods, the Angel curve slopes upward. More income, more demand. For inferior goods, the curve bends downward. After a certain point, demand decreases. This tool is incredibly useful for businesses and economists. If you know how demand shifts with income, you can target the right product to the right market segments. For instance, a luxury car company will look for upward sloping angel curves, while a budget brand might monitor when consumers being to trade up. We talked about income, but what happens when price changes? Instead, the income remains the same. This is where we derive the consumer demand curve, a foundational idea in economics. By holding income and preferences constant and adjusting the price of a good, we can trace how the quantity demanded responds. Plotting these combinations gives us the demand curve. Typically, this curve slopes downward. As the price of a good falls, consumers buy more of it. This happens because of two main effects. First one is the substitution effect. Lower price makes the good relatively cheaper than the alternatives. The second one is the income effect. Lower prices effectively increase your purchasing power, allowing you to buy more. By combining the ICC, the angel curve, and the demand curve, we get a comprehensive picture of consumer behavior under various economic conditions, making it easier for firms to price products, forecast demand, and segment customers. Let's end with one of the most fascinating and paradoxical questions in economics. Why water, essential for life, so cheap, while diamonds, which have little practical use, are so expensive? This is the famous water diamond paradox, and it puzzled economists for centuries. At first glance, it seems illogical. Water sustains all life, yet it's often practically free. Diamonds are decorative and rare, yet we are willing to pay a fortune for them. The answer lies in marginal utility, not total utility. Water has high total utility. We need it daily in large amounts. But because it's so abundant, the marginal utility, the satisfaction gained from one more unit, is too low. After your thirst is quenched, another glass adds a little extra value, right? Diamonds, however, are scarce. They have low total utility, but their marginal utility is too high because each additional unit is rare and perceived as luxurious. So, in economics, value is not about how important a good is overall, but about how much additional satisfaction the next unit provides. This paradox is a powerful reminder. Market prices reflect marginal utility, not necessity. It's a concept that helps us understanding pricing in everything from basic goods to luxurious items and even tech products today. And that wraps up the journey into the mind of consumer, from utility and choice to income shifts, budget constraints, and timeless paradoxes. Consumer behavior gives us a deep insight into the why behind every purchase we make. If you found the video insightful, leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.